That's an inferior belief system. It's inadequate. It's inadequate for building a civilization, for building a cohesive society. Because look, the only group identity, the only sort of group identity that makes any sense at all, it's not racial, it's not ethnic, it's not nationalistic, not even based on language or shared culture or shared heritage. None of that makes any sense as a shared group identity. The only thing that makes sense is shared belief system. That's the only thing that makes sense as a group identity from which you can build cohesion and camaraderie and brotherhood and solidarity between people. Only belief system. You can have a certain skin color and have nothing whatsoever in common with other people who have that skin color. You can have the same language and certainly have nothing in common whatsoever with someone who speaks the same language. I'm German-Irish. What do I have to do with all of the other people in the world who are German-Irish? Just because we're German-Irish, we have nothing in common. And yet I have more in common with a Muslim from Mali, with a Muslim from Indonesia, with a Muslim from Morocco, with a Muslim from China, from Chechnya. I have more in common with them immediately, instantly, effortlessly. We have the same frame of reference. We have the same moral code. We have the same belief. We admire the same people. Our heroes are the same heroes. Our role model is the same role model. I have more in common with them than I have with someone whose belief system is different from mine, but who looks like me, or who speaks my language, or who comes from my country. That doesn't create solidarity, and there's no reason why it should. Solidarity should be based on shared belief. People who share class identification, that makes some sense, but it's very narrow. It's not deep. It's not that meaningful. It's sort of ad hoc. You can have class solidarity on an ad hoc basis, meaning you can have solidarity with other people in the working class, other people who are poor, or if you're on the other end of the spectrum, other people who are rich, because you have shared material interests. Those things are not identity markers that make any sense for building group solidarity, group cohesion, group identity, and sense of brotherhood and fraternity and togetherness and unity. And, this is why in the West you have, popping up all the time, all of these various identity groups, instead of, well, we all believe in Western values. We all believe in Enlightenment values. You don't have any set of civilizational values that actually build real solidarity and cohesion among your people. Because even the beliefs that you have, even the values and the beliefs that you have are incoherent and are divisive by nature. They breed division by nature. You don't have a standard of beliefs that everyone can follow for what is moral and what is immoral, what's right, what's wrong. You don't have that. What kind of a society doesn't have an agreement on what's right and wrong? How can you have a cohesive civilization when you're not even all in agreement about what's right and what's wrong, what's good and bad? I mean, if you want to, if you don't want to put it in the religious terms of what's righteous and what's sinful, it doesn't matter what's moral and what's immoral. There's no agreement among you people. So how can you have cohesion? How can you have real brotherhood and solidarity as a people? You have all of these various fake identity groups on superficial identity markers popping up all the time. You have, white nationalists. You have male supremacists, female supremacists, feminists, red pill, and then you have, even beyond that, you have people who identify themselves literally by the brands that they buy. I'm an Apple person. I'm an Android person. I buy Dolce & Gabbana. I like Nike better than Adidas. I support the Knicks. I support the Broncos. I support, the Dodgers, whatever it is. Because you don't have anything else to build a real sense of community among your people, among your so-called civilization. Because you're not in agreement about anything. So how can there be cohesion? And you can say, that there's cohesion in the beautiful diversity of beliefs, but okay, you can have, that's where you're confused. You can have cohesion, you can have brotherhood, you can have solidarity among a diversity of races, a diversity of ethnicities, a diversity of skin colors, a diversity of heritage, diversity of cultures, as long as there's a shared belief system, shared moral values. But you can't have a diversity of moral values. That's not going to work. That will only create tension and friction in the society. There's no way that can work. That's a civilizational failure. But this never happened in the Muslim world. Alhamdulillah, the Muslims are solid. We're all agreed. The only people that you'll ever find in the Muslim world who are confused about what's right and what's wrong are people who are influenced by the West. Doesn't that tell you something? Doesn't that tell you about your culture? Doesn't that tell you about your beliefs? Doesn't that tell you about your values? Doesn't that tell you about your civilization? That anyone who is influenced by your civilization becomes confused about morality? But any normal rank and file Muslim, from, like I said, from Morocco to China to Brunei, to Bosnia, to Turkey, to Saudi Arabia, to Lebanon, to Egypt, to Sudan, we're all in agreement about what's right and what's wrong. We're all in agreement about what's moral and what's immoral, what's righteous and what's sinful. We all agree. The rank and file, the normal average Muslim has no confusion about what's morally right and what's morally wrong. The largest single cohesive identity group in the world with a shared identity that's actually deep and profound and meaningful. That's not the case for people outside of the Muslim belief system. It's not even the case among Christians. Among Christians, there's a wide variety of beliefs among Christians. Maybe you'll find it among Jews. But even then, you know, there's a serious question about who qualifies to even be called a Jew among Jewish people. For example, there's many Jews who are atheists, which doesn't make any sense to me. But what do they have in common with an Orthodox Jew? So even for you to believe in the supremacy of your belief system is already irrational. Your belief system does not lend itself to solidarity. Your belief system doesn't lend itself to cohesion. It doesn't lend itself to a group identity. And that's why it's never really been enough. Your belief system cannot actually create a cohesive identity for a large group of people. Everybody in the society is looking for some way to find an identity and then to expand that into some identity group so that they can have some sense of belonging. That's a type of struggle that Muslims never experience, because we have a sense of belonging wherever we go in the world. Because we can go into any Muslim community and belong. I could go from China to Latin America and find Muslim communities where I would belong and where the people there would resonate with me and I would resonate with them, and we would understand each other and we would be able to relate to each other and we would feel brotherhood for each other. You can't say the same. You couldn't fill a room with random Europeans from France, from Germany, from Romania, from England, and then from America, from Australia, from Canada. You couldn't fill a room with random Westerners and have them all agree on what's morally right and what's morally wrong on any issue. And whoever agrees, whatever two people agree on something, will disagree on something else if it's a moral issue. Because your basic moral belief has become that nothing is right and nothing is wrong. Well, how are you going to survive as a society? How are you going to survive as a civilization when you have a belief like that? Alhamdulillah, this is not a problem that we have in the Muslim world. We have close to 2 billion people. It will soon be 2 billion people, the overwhelming majority of which all agree on basic moral values, all agree on basic definitions of morality, and who, again, overwhelmingly agree on the purpose of life, and what kind of a lifestyle you should live, what your way of life should be, what your conduct should be in the world, what your conduct should be in society, what your obligations are, what your duties are in society. The overwhelming majority of close to 2 billion people in the world are all in agreement on that. That's cohesion. That's a basis for solidarity. That is an actual civilization. No matter what we've gone through, no matter what difficulties we face, unlike you, when times get tough for you, you throw your values out the window. When times get tough for the Muslims, they cling to their values even stronger. Their conviction in their beliefs grows.